Hey GBA fans, welcome back to the Pick'em crew. I'm your friend Choice CJ, and I'm joined by my very good pal, Gregulator. Say what's up, Greg.
Yo, what's up GBA type people? It's Gregulator60. Hope you're having a fantastic day, simply fantastic. Oh wow, it's nice to be back, CJ. I don't know about you, but last week's GBA games, we had a mouthful of fun and exciting matches to spectate, so glad to be back here for Pick'ems. How about yourself?
It's definitely good to be back, and definitely ready for another week of action. So before we move on to the Week 2 games, let's quickly look at the Week 1 results. And I think by and large, the teams that were picked by the majority of analysts and fans did seem to get the win. The big upset, I would say, was the Luxrays losing to the Bearticks. So that's very interesting. Other big story, Greg. Fans went undefeated Week 1. What do you think about that?
I am very frustrated that I lost to the fans. You guys know that I pride myself on being the best. And the fact that you guys managed to beat me on that last spot really annoyed me. But kudos to you guys. Go give yourselves an oh gosh in the comment section. We'll be looking for people to shout out in future videos with the hashtag oh gosh. Oh, speaking of oh gosh, Lars dropped Yamega after I picked him. So that's something I just want to get out of the way. Gator, you're number one on my power rankings. I know a lot of people picked you, but shout out to you, dude. Number one, the real number one.
Let's go ahead and move on to the Week 2 games. And we're going to start off with our first matchup. It's going to be the San Francisco Giants, coached by Gym Leader Gio, and the San Diego Chim Chargers, coached by Coach Envy. I think overwhelmingly here, the Chim Chargers are favored. What do you think about this matchup, Greg?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the San Diego Chim Chargers deserve the right after tossing Aster J back in Week 1. And we're looking at similar team dynamic in this matchup in particular. If you look at Gio's main core of the Toxapex and the Toxapex, really his bulk. Gio's got a lot of it, and Envy has some of the best fat breakers in the game. Pokemon like Hoopa Unbound, I think, is going to make its appearance. It's going to have a really fun time going in against Gio's team. Look at Gio's team, man. It's disgustingly fat. Hoopa's going to have a field day. Chestnut gone. That's why that dual Psychic weakness really is going to come back to bite him. Rotom's not going to really do much, and Hoopa's going to have a lot more windows of opportunity to do stuff in this matchup in particular, and I like that a lot. Tapu Koko looks really nice and strong as well. I think that's something to look forward to. And the Alolan Raichu that Envy picked up, don't sleep on that Pokemon. I think it's going to be a really important Pokemon, mainly because it's going to deal very well with, like I keep going back to, Toxapex Chestnut, his main defensive core. Hidden Power Fire is something to also look out into to take on the Scizor, but coming from Gio's side, I think Mega Scizor is going to be the key to winning this game for him. Envy's Bullet Punch resists are pretty straightforward. They are the Empoleon, which is not a Mega Scizor, does not beat Mega Scizor. The Incineroar and the Slowbro, which loses to Bug Stab. So, and if Gio's going to have any chance of winning this game, it's going to have to be with dealing with those three Pokemon. Really looking forward to this match, CJ. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And the comment you made on Raichu is very important, just because the thing does seem to have great coverage. I'm interested to see if Envy's going to bring Amoonguss, just because it's a new Mon. But I think just in general, versus the type of team that Gio has, this isn't the type of matchup that Amoonguss will be favored in. But we'll see. Envy always has some tricks up his sleeve. He's probably going to be running like a max speed Amoonguss or something to take on Gio's team.
I don't know about that, but definitely...
It's the counter to Slurpuff, obviously.
The Slurpuff. Yeah, Slurpuff is actually... I don't know how threatening it's going to be, mainly because Envy's team really denies a lot of setup opportunities like Hoopa. Like Tapu Koko, I keep mentioning, like a potential electric terrain boosted Thunderbolt. Like Pinsir's Quick Attack, I don't think Slurpuff is coming, but, it could. We could see it. Not too concerning.
Cool. All right, well, let's move on to match number 2. This is going to be the Detroit Steel Wings, coached by Crimson Seabad, going up against Coach Z's Columbus Chew. I did pick the Columbus Chew in Week 1, but Coach Z let me down. Coach Z lost to Wolfie and the Milwaukee Bewares, and it's looking like the Chew might have a slight weakness to fast electrics. Do you have any thoughts on this matchup?
I was about to say, first of all, alts lose. If you're on an alt, you're losing. I know Coach Z, I don't know who you are, Mulvone or someone, but come out, we're looking for you. You know who else is looking for Coach Z? Thundurus Incarnate. Look at Coach Z's team, and you tell me The Field Day Thunder Eye, you mentioned fast electric types, access to Z-Fly, Supersonic, Sky Strike looks very strong. Knockoff, Superpower, U-Turn, Z Wild Charge, Taunt even, like, I think Crimson is going to have to come back with a really strong performance, and Thunderous Eye really, really has the opportunity to do something really nice, especially because you can knock off potential Celebi switch-ins, knock off U-Turn's very strong specifically, because you can U-turn into threats like potential Clefable, which could dodge certain Life Orb boosted Thundy Eyes. You can U-turn into Mega Beedrill, get momentum that way, and just consistently apply offensive pressure against the Columbus Chew, and I don't think the Chew are that prepared to deal with an all-out offensive attack. Whereas if Crimson decides to play a bit more offensively in this game, between those mons that I mentioned, it'll be really nice. Some of the Pokemon on the Chew side that look really strong include like agility variants of Mega Ampharos. Mega Ampharos does set up against Pokemon like the Thunderous Eye, for example. That's why I mentioned U-Turn being so strong. U-Turn on a potential Ampharos and go into something that can threaten that out. But if Ampharos can get up in agility and weaken the Chew, that's a very frail team. It's very offensive but frail as well. So Mega Ampharos can potentially do something. Sneasel is very annoying to handle. Outspeeding Thundy can't get Thunder Waved because it's a Dark type, at least by Prankster variants. Potentially Pursuit Traps, Mega Beedrill if you're real, maybe Beedrill fears Ice Sharding Pursuit. That's something that the Chew might consider. And then, offensively, I just think he's going to struggle, and that's why I'm going to go off with Crimson Seabed, despite, losing to my number one Gator. What are you thinking, CJ?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The Chew's, like, it's got a bunch of good mons on paper. Even some low-tier classics like Porygon 2 and Sneasel, like you mentioned. It seems like a team that's very susceptible to the type of Volt-Turn action that Crimson's got on his team. Because you are going to be relying on mons like P2 and Clefable to pivot. But as you pointed out, like, that just seems like a great opportunity to bring in something like Mega B. So maybe there's some cool strategy that he could run with like a Eject button or something like that, where he can get in a mon to, get in his Sneasel to Pursuit Trap a Beedrill or something. I don't know. Yeah. But he's going to have a hard time if he doesn't do something really creative like that. Exactly.
I will say, though, the analysts did not have a hard time. We have multiple people locking Crimson Seabed for this matchup, just showing how much faith we have in the GBA veteran.
We can move on to our game number 3. I think this is one of our most divided games of the week. The Borussia Dawn fan, coached by El Scizor, Lars, versus newcomer from the GBA D-League, Jolt, in his Kansas City Jirachiefs. I think it's slightly in favor of Jolt based on the pick'ems, but these are both obviously very talented battlers and very big threats on both sides, and Jolt making some recent changes to his team. Do you think any of the new mons are going to come into this matchup, Craig?
I'll tell you about the mon that's missing from this matchup, and that is Yon Mega. Such a dominant performance in Week 1, and Lars goes and drops it. I have no faith in Lars' ability to manage a roster. Clearly, it was evident when he dropped Yon Mega, so I have to put all my faith in Jolt for this week. However, for the people that did pick Lars, I think I can understand why they chose to do that. You look at mons like Kyurem Black, Mega Manectric, those all really deal very well with the star-studded Celesteela that is on Jolt's team. I think Celesteela is not going to have... This is one of the worst matchups, especially with the newly acquired Mega Mane. Very difficult for Lars to handle that thing by itself. Tapu Fini is a very great response to Hydreigon, which Jolt recently acquired. Very nice mon. I think Gladius is better, but you can watch the transaction show to see thoughts on stuff like that. But Lars has a really nice speed advantage, I think. Speed tiers are much better for Lars than Jolt. And that's why I think Lars is potentially favored. However, one of the reasons I decided to go Jolt this week is Hydreigon just goes in. Like, Kyurem Black, Draco Meteor, destroyed. Tapu Fini comes in, Hydreigon U-turns out on that. I think that's something I can anticipate from Jolt. U-turning into, like, Mega Venusaur, firing off Leech Seeds. I think, like, Sapsipper users, I think, is Lars the one with the Miltank, or is that Joey? My notes are all over the place, yeah. But Lars himself doesn't have very good Leech Seed immunity, so I could definitely see like a Leech Seed variant of Mega Venusaur coming. Very nice to bring in the Cobalion. However, one thing I do like is that Lars has no Fairy Resist. Like, Gengar is not a real Fairy Resist, it's frail. Garbodor, it's a Fairy Resist, yeah, but you look at mons like Scarf Gardevoir, I think Scarf Guard is going to be very, very nice in this matchup. Only because what does Lars have to deal with the Moonblast? Kamala.
Really.
Kamala is a very bad Pokemon, so I really like Gardevoir in this matchup. I think the Misty Terrain is something to note if Jolt can find ways to take advantage of it. I feel that Jolt is going to come out on top if he can take advantage of Lars' lack of a fairy resistance. Knowing how Jolt thinks, I think that's something we can see exploited in this week.
I would probably feel a little differently about this matchup if this was a Z Kyurem instead of just a regular Kyurem, because you could run like a Z Outrage to nuke Arcanine. Venusaur is already not a great switch-in because of the Terravolt ability neutralizing the Thick Fat. You can hit it with super effective Ice Beams once again. But the fact that Kyurem doesn't have access to that, I think just the combination of Celesteela, Arcanine, and Venusaur actually pivot around Kyurem pretty well. And I like what you said about Hydreigon. I think Hydreigon's very good in this matchup. On Lars' side, there's still plenty of threats, though. If you can use his Kyurem effectively to weaken Jolt's team, maybe something like a setup Cobalion could go to town, just because the mons that do outspeed it, like Aerodactyl, aren't really great checks to Cobalion.
Yeah.
The best check, honestly, is what you mentioned, like a Scarf Gardevoir. I guess, no, I take back what I said. You got Breloom, which is a new pickup for Jolt this week. I totally forgot about that.
I didn't even think about Breloom as well.
Yeah, Breloom actually is looking really, really nice here with the priority to hit Kyurem, hits Cobalion, hits Crocodile, and then obviously Bullet Seed for mons like Tapu Fini. So maybe Breloom makes an appearance this week.
A couple of us know Jolt history with Breloom.
yeah, I'm sure he's. Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
I don't want to.
Bullet Seed or Seed Bomb? What's the move that come in this week?
Oh, I mean, you got to bring Bullet Seed. There's no other option.
We'll ask Jolt about that. Okay, moving on to the next match. We have the Bronx Bearticks versus the Melbourne Rotoms. I was corrected. Okay, so last week in the Pick'em videos, I asked people, please, someone help me. This lovely user just didn't correct me. Explain to me how it's said and how the Aussies themselves say it. So it's the Melbourne Rotoms, coached by Cybertron. Shout out to you guys. A very lackluster debut from Cybertron in week 1, don't you want to say? I'm pretty sure that's a safe thing to note.
Yeah.
Felt rushed. However, I do want to make some notes about that game. I think Rain is still a very great archetype in Pokemon to learn singles with. It's something I learned singles with myself when I was playing in OU back in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. And it's a very effective way to learn how to play Pokemon in singles. And Cybertron's a very smart player if you watch his content. So I'm very faithful in Cybertron's ability to bounce back and exploit Joey's weakness to water. Now, I know I said that a lot last week with John Seaman, how awful his water resists are. I think Joey's water resists are a lot worse this week, mainly because his primary answers include Mega Gyarados, which is an offensive juggernaut, very specially bulky as well, but can't sustain itself from repeated rain hits from mobs like Ludicolo, Kingdra, Mega Swampert, and Whimsicott, which has very good merit in this matchup, being a water ground resist sort of for Swampert, but Sludge Wave is a thing. You can Encore, I guess, run Tailwind, Sunny Day, be able to control the weather that way, but I think overall, like, it's still a very frail mon that Cybertron, if he can click Hydro, the strong water type moves, I think if, trusting in your Kingdra to hit Hydro Pump over Surf, trusting your Ludicolo to hit Hydro Pump, if Cybertron can make those, I think it can really open the doors to some of the scarier mons on his team. Mons like Kartana really have a good field day against Joey, especially with the rain. Hidden Power Fire from mons like Mega Gyarados or Zygarde even potentially aren't going to do much. And Joey's main bulk include the Necrozma. It has a neutered Moonlight. So you could definitely see, I think, I'm going to put my faith in Cybertron this week. I'm going to lock him because I wasn't too impressed by Joey's showing week 1. I thought it was a bit, I thought it was nice thought process, and I did call the Double Dance the Rock Polish Necrozma. Not necessarily Double Dance, but I think I'm going to be really watching to see how Joey approaches handling the rain with his lack of defensive backbone, because I know that's his comfort zone. So it'll be a nice way to gauge the how far he's come, and also gauge how willing Cybertron is to play singles and get the format down. What do you think, CJ?
I mean, so I definitely see what you're saying. The water resists are lacking on Joey's side, and the water resists that he does have are going to be weak to the coverage moves on Aaron's team, like Ludicolo versus Mega Gara. Like, obviously, Gara can switch into Rain Boosted Hydro Pumps, but it's not going to want to switch in on Giga Drain. So things like that. I feel like he'll have to rely a lot more on Miltank and Necrozma just being like his big bulky mons. And he can run speed control on both of those, which is really nice. So he can T-Wave things like Kartana, Kingdra, and stuff like that. One thing I'd be really interested to see is if Joey uses a similar strat that Monotui used in a previous GBA season. He actually ran a Scarf Selgor. The Selgor's actually got decent coverage because you can run Energy Ball for Swampert, Bug Buzz for Ludicolo. If you need to, you can run like Final Gambit or something for Kingdra if you're really desperate. And then you can even run U-Turn if you wanted to be really cute. So maybe we'll see that out of Joey. Hard to say for sure. Until I see more from Aaron, until he like starts to get into a groove, I'm not really comfortable picking him.
I'm comfortable enough to lock
this
him.
Week.
I'm comfortable enough to lock him. Water is the key to everything. And you'll see it this week.
Well, you're a god among men, Greg. I can't say anything more than that.
Hashtag gosh in the comments.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to our fifth match of the week. This one's going to be between the Montreal Hapsols, coached by Aster J, and the Philadelphia Scissors, coached by Chimpact. I think that this is actually a really even matchup, one of the most even of the week. And there's a lot of good pivots on Aster's side. Like, Chimp's got a lot of great wall breakers, like with the Coco and with the Camel and things like that. But I think there's actually like a lot of good switch-ins. The one Mon that really stands out to me is Nihilego. I think that like a rock move, poison move, ghost move, electric move set is going to be really difficult for Aster to deal with. So that's kind of like my one concern. I'm interested to see what sort of set he comes up with. Maybe he brings like a Kebia Berry, Sylveon, or something like that in order to deal with Nihilego. Because that's like the main Mon that stands out to me, like in terms of having a good offensive matchup, I am going with Chimp. And yeah, I believe in Aster's ability, but I think he just sort of needs to get the jitters out. And until I see more from him in that way, I don't think I'm really comfortable picking him either. It's a little bit of the same as with Aaron.
I think you bring up some great points. I think Aster is a veteran in the format, so he should know that his offense defeats Chimp's offense. It's just that much better. Scolipede, Lopunny. If you look at Chimp's normal resist, they consist of Magnezone. His fighting resist is a Rabombi. Like, it's all and a
Uxie
and a Victini. Okay, but Uxie gets worn down throughout the entirety of the match. Metagross, it's a free switching into Uxie. Foul play is kind of a thing, which I can kind of expect. I really want to touch back on Nihilego itself. It destroys Aster. Psychic, like Speed Boost Nihilego with Life Orb really can run through Aster's team in of itself. And that's a set I brought a lot back in the D-League, Speed Boost and Nihilego, and Chimp has rockers to get them up. I think Stealth Rock is really important to pressure Zapdos, to pressure Darmanitan, to limit the switch-ins from Aster's offense that could be really annoying for Chimp himself. I think if Chimp can manage to... I'm going to vote against Aster until he can show that he can utilize his offensive threats like Lopunny and Scolipede, rather than rely on fat stuff like Melodic to check Greninja and Metagross to check, the Bull. I want to see Aster get really aggressive in this, but I'm going to go with Chimpact. He also has a camera up, so I'm not still on that bandwagon.
Yeah, you can't betray Camo like that.
Cannot, not yet at least.
Yeah,
he has to bring it. He has to bring it.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't bring it last week. We hyped it up so much, and we just I don't know. He broke our hearts.
He did.
So Aster, we're pulling for you, but it's just not this week. Let's transition to our sixth matchup: the Milwaukee Bewares, coached by Wolfie, versus the Florida Gators, coached by Gator. And the Bewares, like I said, they surprised me week one. You weren't surprised at all. You definitely picked them to beat the Chew. And Gator had a very impressive performance week one. He had the only 6-0 of the week. And when I look at this matchup, Greg, like you and I talked about this beforehand, Bewares, they're talked about as being an unbreakable draft. Like, they just have so much fat. But I look at the combination of Buzzwole and Drapion, and I go, those two Mons break the Bewares like so easily. You run an Acid Downpour Buzzwole to take care of Reuniclus, Tangrowth, and Florges. And you have a very similar type of set on Drapion. You got Poison and Dark coverage. It hits all 3 of those perfectly. And you got Mamoswine to be a great check to the Mega Garchomp. Then that's really good. Xurkitree, could be scary, but Altaria is a okay switch in for that. You just have to be wary of Dazzling Gleam, of course. I just don't see how Wolfie is going to be able to build a defensive team to handle the wall breakers that Gator's got. So I got to give Gator the edge here.
I agree. I think Superior really going to shine in this matchup. One thing I knocked Gator about in his draft is how awful his speed tiers are. But the only person who could make it worse than Gator was Wolfie. Because SD Drapion, like you mentioned, outspeeds his entire team. Gator really just has to weaken mons like Conkeldurr. Gator has to abuse the Pursuit Trap, the Jellicent potentially, because that could really open doors for Buzzwole, like you mentioned. Bulk Up, Acid Downpour looks really strong here. I really like Buzzwole, and Superior as a late game cleaner can very much so overwhelm mons like Florges, overwhelm mons like Tangrowth, overwhelm mons like the potential Bronzong, Masquerain, any of those low tiers. Oh yeah, you can't even bring webs because Superior with the speed boost. Who wants that? Who wants
hilarious.
that? Nobody wants that. I'll tell you that. So that's something to look forward to. I think I like Gator's matchup here. And he's my number 1 in the Gregulator power rankings. So.
All right, tune in next week for the Gregulator power rankings going up 2 p.m. on Saturday. It's gonna be really great. Let's move on to our second to last matchup. This is going to be between Necrostivos, Victorian Shadows, and Tom Z's San Jose Sharpedos. This is the second game of the week where we have it clean in favor of one team. Everyone's smiling upon the Sharpedos this week. It's not really that hard to see why. I'm going to say this every single week, Greg. Like, Lando T is really great here. Just even with its dual stab options, it takes care of the majority of the team except for Rotom Heat. But Rotom Heat is not a good Pokemon. It's very easily worn down by Stealth Rocks. And of course, you could have rock coverage on Lando to deal with that. You could even run Smackdown if you wanted to be really cute. And then besides that, you really just have Fortress as an answer to Lando. The Shadows don't have a bad team. I'm not trying to say that at all. But you look at mons like Mega Zam on their side, and it's pretty easy for that mon to be dealt with by Bullet Punch Scizor. And you could even run like Quick Attack on a Flame Orb Swellow to help give you more priority to deal with Zam. And he's got the Mesprit and the Houndoom as well. Like, I bet both of those can pivot in. And Houndoom can run the Tech Sucker Punch to take on the Alakazam as well. Hawlucha does stand out as potentially scary. I know that you like Hawlucha, Greg. But I feel like Tom actually has some pretty good answers to that between Rotom, Scizor, and Lando.
Yeah.
So it's nothing against Necrostivo this week, but I do think it's in Tom's favor.
I pretty much agree. I think the Landorus is going to be a very important Pokemon in the matchup to check the Hawlucha, because it is scary. But like, just Intimidate itself, like, Hawlucha's not that strong. And remember, Necrostivo chose to take Hawlucha without a Tapu, so he's going to rely on traditional like Gen 6 methods of utilizing Hawlucha with like the Misty Terrain, like, sub SD, like Citrus, stuff like that, rather than relying on a terrain boosting berry to proc his Unburden. So I really like Swallow in the matchup. I think you mentioned the best set is the physical set with Quick Attack. I think that's very strong. Out prioritizes Diggersby's Quick Attack. Lander is just, oh my god, just Fly Z, Earthquake, U-turn, Rocks. What more do you need? Actually, yeah, maybe Continental Crush to beat the Togekiss. Like, that's his own. Like, the two Defoggers lose to Landorus. The Rapid Spinner is setup fodder for mons like Kommo-o. It gives Houndoom a free switch in. So I really like Tom in this matchup in particular as well. I mean, he's my pick as well.
Yeah, definitely. He had a tough week 1, but he has the experience and he has the roster to potentially turn things around in week 2 here. Let's go into our final matchup. This is between the New Orleans Pelipers, coached by Pokemon, aka John, and the opponent is the Tampa Bay Luxrays, coached by Monotui. And this is a pretty even matchup in my eyes. I think both of these players are very talented and have good track records in the GBA and in other leagues, of course. I think Zardex has the potential to do really well here. Like, Diancie, I guess, sort of checks it. unless Zard gets to +1 and can run Earthquake. I think Crest is incredibly pressured to be the Zard X answer in this game. I guess you could run like a Haban Berry Garchomp to potentially deal with that. He might have to be creative and run something like that. The problem with Crest, though, with being a Zard X check is that it's really pressured by mons like Keldeo and even potentially a Z Slowking in this matchup. So I think if Cresselia gets worn down, that Mono's got a really good chance to pull ahead. The threats on John's side, like the biggest two hitters are the first two mons there. Diancie, Garchomp, really great core, but I think that Mono's got the right mons to deal with Diancie. Like Registeel and Snorlax are both pretty good versus Diancie, of course, and I think Chomp is a bigger threat than Diancie. Their really only response is Gliscor, which does get hit by Aqua Tail, but you know, the thing with Garchomp too is that it's vulnerable to the Weavile, so I don't know. I think overall I do favor Mono here, although it's one of the matches that I'm looking forward to the most this week.
Yeah, I think both of these coaches had really strong performance in week 1. I know Mono lost, but we can talk about that another day.
Yeah.
I think one thing to note is I really want to see John come out of his comfort zone for this matchup because I know he loves Jolteon. Jolteon is such a bad matchup against mons like Zardax, Dragalge, Comfey, for example. Gliscor's checked relatively easily. Snorlax is a mon we haven't even mentioned. I could expect the Hariyama to show up to, could be some decent wall-breaking pressure to break mons like Slowking potentially, like bulk up into Thunder Punch, for example, or like Knockoff, for example. Different ways. I think it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic and what these two coaches choose to bring to this matchup, but I'm going to go in favor of Mono because I really liked his week 1 performance, and John really impressed me. I know I called him out for not being able to check the rain, but he kind of sort of did. I think Aaron really fumbled the ball, but I think I was giving him less credit than he deserved, so looking forward to this game in particular.
Yeah, the Flame Orb Jolteon from week 1 on John's side was really nice. I was thinking maybe like Scarf Torn to deal with the rain, but the Flame Orb Jolteon was like pretty much the same idea, and it worked really well. He was able to clean the game up for him. So he's got to pull some sort of similar trick out of his bag this week, I think, to pull it off. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our week 2 of the Pick'em crew. We hope you enjoyed. We gave you lots of in-depth analysis and hopefully some top-tier banter as well. Shoutouts to Greg for always making things interesting. If you guys liked the video, make sure you drop a like, and we'd appreciate it if you dropped a sub to the GBA channel, and that way you can stay up to date on all of the cool analyst videos that we're doing, like Greg's Power Rankings that are going to be coming out next week. And be sure you check out all of our coaches as well. They'll be down in the description below. Greg, do you have any closing words?
Oh, gosh.
That sums it up, folks. This has been the Pick'em crew. Thank you very much, and until the next time, we'll see you guys later.